I don't know how long it'll take for all of you to be able to hear what I'm saying. Usually about 10 to 12 seconds or so. So I'm just going to say some things about how awesome it is to be the host of V Radio working with Johnny Walker Dread with these awesome guests that we have. And there we go. I can hear myself on the other streams. We are good to go. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Our guests are going to be Wendy Rittenhouse and McKenzie Rittenhouse. And my co-host today is Johnny Walker Dread. Today we have already kind of discussed with them some of the things that we're going to get into today. There are still pending litigation, so please be aware of the fact that they're not going to be able to talk about necessarily everything that you may want to talk about. So if you're there in the chat, remember that we always engage with our chat, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to ask every single thing you may want to be asked in this situation. So first of all, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Wendy, go ahead and tell them who you are.
Hi, everybody. I am Wendy Rittenhouse. I'm Kyle's mom.
I'm Kenzie. I'm the youngest one.
The youngest one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just of two.
And I think everybody on my channel knows who you are, Johnny, but you want to take a second and tell them?
Sure. I'm Johnny Walker Dread, host of the Johnny Walker Dread Show. I have over 300 videos on the Kenosha shootings or whatever you want to call them. So if you're interested in the Kyle Rittenhouse saga, my channel is where you go. And see if there's anything else I need to tell you about. But no, I don't think so. So go and like and subscribe to my show. And that's enough for me.
All right. Awesome. So we had, basically reached out over time to be able to finally get this interview with you guys. And I think it kind of comes down to the same thing that was the reason why Grambo, chose to be on our show as they're not going on the mainstream media, is that people have been kind of playing games with you guys, essentially treating you, as either something to boost ratings or something to talk about on Twitter, but you're human beings and this impacted your real life. And it's, I think, easy for people who get caught up in the media storm to forget that there's real people on the other side of these situations. So we wanted to give you an opportunity to be able to clear the air about the things that had happened to you and your family, and specifically to give you an opportunity to humanize yourself to people who are not aware of who Wendy and McKenzie really are beyond just what they've read in the headlines. So, Johnny, do you want to go ahead and start the questions?
Sure. By the way, Faith was originally scheduled to come on. She just couldn't make it tonight. So disappointing, but here we go. I want to ask both of you, and actually I think all my questions are going to be to both of you.
Okay.
But you have, so there's going to be a verdict read in the trial. And the night before and the day, can you tell us what it was like? We'll start with you, Wendy, and then McKenzie, if you can follow up. I mean, what was going through your mind? What was that like?
Nerve-wracking. We barely slept for those 2 weeks for that trial. It was listening to the witnesses, listening to Kyle going on the stand, Binger, him talking. That took a lot.
Yeah, that took a lot out of all of us.
Yes, definitely. Well, we were in the courtroom, and that was a lot. We were there. When they arrested the case, we were there for those 3 days because it took 24 hours, 25 hours for them to come back for a verdict. That Friday, we're sitting in the room waiting, and we didn't know the verdict came in. We found over Twitter from Jack's feed. I can't say his name because I don't want to butcher it. And we had to, Natalie was like, okay, let me find out. And it's like, yeah, the verdict's in. I started getting hyped, like, oh my gosh, nervous, shaking like a leaf. I started crying. Kyle was like, Mom, stop crying. And I'm like, I had to go to the bathroom. I was in there for a little bit, just trying to get together, to be strong. I put some water on my face and I came out. And it was Kyle, Mark, Corey, Natalie, the 3 lawyers, and our security LT walked them out. We started crying. McKenzie just broke down, started crying. It's like, my brother, my brother. And I was crying. Dave was there, Dave Hancock. He's like, girls, you got to get together. And I'm like, he's like, you guys have to breathe. That's all he kept on telling us. Got to breathe, got to breathe. And I'm like, okay, girls, we have to hold together. Then we walked together down there. The girls went first in where we were sitting. I sat closer to the aisle. Dave was sitting next to me, and then Mackenzie and Faith. And I sat in front of this guy because I didn't want the media to look at me. I was like, because I didn't want them to see me bawling in case it came back to a guilty plea. And I was just sitting there, just holding my breath and just hearing them saying not guilty. It felt like forever when you're there. And when they said not guilty, you could see like in a video of me going like, oh my God. And I was like, it was like not guilty. And Dave was holding my hand, and I was grabbing on his other arm. Like I didn't know I was putting my nails into his arm. And he's grabbing my hand. I thought he was going to break my hand, honestly, because Dave is a big, strong guy. And everything came down not guilty. And I just sat there, and I was like this big relief just came over my shoulders. And it's like, I can breathe. And the girls were crying. And Dave said something in my ear or something. I don't remember what it was. And I told the girls, but I don't remember what it was. Then we got up, and TC, one of our other security, said, come on, Ma. And come on, Ken, come on. And I just took off in the courtroom and go to the elevator. And I'm like looking, I lost the girls. I'm like, where's my daughters at? Because I ran so fast. And then the girls came in. TC was out waiting for us to get in there, and we had the cops with us, of course. And then Kyle runs in. Mackenzie and Faith just like hugged him so tight. I'm sitting there crying, and we had to go down, a couple floors down to another corridor to another elevator. It was like going through a maze. And we got into the vehicle, and I just remember Mark and Corey and Natalie and Kyle, and I saw Kyle saw LT, and Kyle just jumped over and hugged LT so tightly. It's like, and it was like, I was just sitting there crying and happy and just filled with emotions, and we were just like, oh my gosh, it's like we're just smiling and we're like crying, and we're just like so relieved that it was not guilty. And we went home. I left my phone at the courthouse up in the room. I couldn't call any of my family till later on that night. Then later Kyle came home. We just like embraced him. He's like, where's Milo? Milo's Kyle's dog. And Milo's like jumping, like all happy and stuff like that. And we were just so overwhelmed and exhausted at the same time. But the night of the verdict, I didn't sleep that night. I was up up all night because I was on alert, because we had the security, we had the security cameras, but I was like more up that night than anything of the verdict. I don't know about the girls or anything like that. They can explain how they feel.
This is a good opportunity for McKenzie. McKenzie, the same question, but what was going through your mind, and how were you handling this?
So that day of the verdict, we weren't sure if the verdict was going to be read or not. But that day, like, I had that feeling that it was going to be read. because my stomach felt so weird. Like it was like all tangled, and I was just so nervous that day. And then I remember we were sitting down for lunch, and then like we find out that the verdict is in. And so Kyle and the lawyers go down first, and then I like break down to my knees, like crying because I don't know if that was just the last time I could actually be next to my brother or see my brother. And I just didn't want the worst to happen. So I like break down crying, and then I pull myself together for my brother, and we're all sitting on the bench like 3 rows back from Kyle. And when they read the first verdict, I felt like oh my god. Like they listened to the facts and the evidence. They didn't listen to the chanting that you could hear outside the courtroom. They actually listened to the facts and the evidence. They weren't I don't know the word, but when you're scared of the mob, they weren't scared of the mob. They came with the correct and honest verdict. But when they read the third verdict, that's when I knew Kyle, like the rest of them, was going to be not guilty.
Okay. That
And I
was going to be one of my questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's actually a super chat that's here, and we can get into that afterwards, but it corresponds with one of the questions we were already going to ask. So I'll bring it up when you're done.
mhm.
Yeah.
And just like after the last one, I just like break down, like crying hysterically. And I was just trying to keep it together because there were so many cameras in the courtroom. And I was just trying to keep it together, but like I couldn't. And then as when we get in the elevator, when we rush out of the courtroom, I hug Kyle so tightly and he hugs me so tightly, and I'm wearing glasses and my makeup gets all over the glasses and I couldn't see him. That's how hard he hugged me.
Mhm.
And that day, like I'll never forget that day. Never forget the feeling of like anxiety just like going away. All of that going away.
Yeah, I would
So,
ask. Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Nick.
You go ahead, Johnny, and
I
I'll
would
go.
just ask everybody in the chat or everybody who is watching to think about what it would be like if they were in their shoes. I mean, this is your son or your brother and stuff like that. And as McKenzie said, this may be the last time you ever get to be, actually with him. That's got to be, let me ask you as a kind of a follow-up, but how often did you think about like the worst thing that could happen? I mean, did you imagine, like what it was going to be like? How much did that consume your feeling, or were you more optimistic?
I've every day since, you know, since when this happened, every day he could go to prison the rest of his life. I had that he might go to prison the rest of his life. I had to go get therapy from this incident. I talked to a therapist and she was, she helped me out tremendous. And every day I was thinking my son is going to go to prison for the rest of his life. That's all I can, that's all I was thinking about. I'm not going to have my son he defended his life. I was scared to death. People that knew me, my family every day they called me. My one sister, she called me every day to make sure I was okay. And my friends, my true friends, I I talk to this day, they still call me and ask how I'm doing. I love them dearly. They're my family. And I just getting through the trial, the ups and downs. I mean, the it's the bullshit of this. It was a circus. It's like every time you turn around, it was a circus. And I didn't want to be in that circus. I wanted the truth to come out. And it was very difficult for my family to go out and stuff because we were scared to death that someone's going to recognize us. And we had the security. I have to say, we had the best security ever. I love them to death. Shout out to LT, Kenny, TC. I could not have a better team to take care of my family. And I put them as my family too, and they're still my family, and I will always love them. You know, they took time out of their lives to protect my family, and I couldn't be so grateful for them. Even with Dave, you know, Dave was there um, uh, a year before. Uh, Dave Hancock. I met him like the 18th and 19th of November of 2020.
Wendy, I think I'm going to stop you on here on that one because there's pending litigation. Hope you don't mind.
Okay, no problem.
I mean, I think
And,
it was going to be fine, but it could easily veer into areas we don't
Yeah.
want.
And with Dave and stuff, I will always be grateful for Dave and what he did for my family, for Kyle. I will always be grateful for him. And I love him and the guys forever.
So, did you want to comment on any of that, Mackenzie, before I get to the next question?
It's kind of similar as my mom's. Like, it was always in the back of my head, but I never expressed it towards Kyle when I talked to him. I'd always like tell him that like he's gonna be okay. Like he will be fine. The truth will come out. They will see the truth. But in the back of my head, it's always like they could believe the media. They could believe the mob. They could be scared for their lives, their families, and just say he's guilty to protect themselves because of how dangerous the mob was. But I never really thought about it too much. I've always wanted to think positive. I knew God was on our side. God was helping us, helping me and my brother, my family get through whatever we're going to get through. So that's basically it. I just try to keep a positive mentality throughout.
So we got a super chat here from a longtime friend of the show, Lucifer the Doberman. Biggest question: what has it been like personally to deal with the aftermath? We know both of you have had to adjust your lives because of this. Also, tell us some of the positives that have happened because of it.
The aftermath, we moved because it wasn't safe where we were at. We're in Wisconsin, in Illinois. We couldn't stay there. We had to uproot everything. We had to leave things behind. And I mean, that was terrible. We couldn't go back to the apartment to get any of our stuff till like later. And the aftermath, we met some really nice people. We're back in the workforce, working and stuff like that. And no one, I mean, where we're at, I'm not going to say where we're at. And it's, you know, we're back doing normal things, you know, and not worrying that someone's going to recognize us. It's like, say, hey, you are such and such mom or something like that. But, you know, there's always that possibility. But we did meet some really nice people where we're at, and we're just doing the norm.
Okay, by the way, somebody did mention this. I do not want either of you to respond to it, but I will go ahead and make a statement here because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be watching this that are maybe not as informed as others. But Wendy Rittenhouse, the mother, did not drive Kyle to the protests at all. And she had absolutely nothing to do with the gun purchase or Kyle possessing the gun. I'm going to say that so that way anybody watching can now get the story straight. But I really don't want either of you to comment on that if you don't mind.
Okay.
McKenzie, though, if you want to answer the previous question about the aftermath, and we also, were there any positives that came out of
I'm
this for
sorry,
your
I
family?
jumped in when I shouldn't have.
No, you're all right.
So the positives, I've grown so much as a person. I've matured. I'm probably like the most matured 19-year-old person I know. I'm like, I take what happened to me, and I take it like really welly. I think it happened for a reason. God made that happen to me for a reason. Happened to my family for a reason, to grow us stronger as people. But the aftermath of the trial, I was like trending on TikTok, whatnot, and 4chan and Reddit with like guys like, oh my god, Kyle's sister. And people were like talking like nasty about me. They were like talking about wanting to do things to me, wanting me to be sexually assaulted and posted on the like a website and all this stuff. And when I read that like people like wanted to pay for me to get sexually assaulted for repercussions, I like did not leave the house for a week. I like cried and cried because how could people think like that? And how would that make it right or like fair, you know?
Mhm.
And it like hurt me a lot. Like I was scared to go out in public because what if one of these people had said that about me and I walked past them, you know? So I like I was pretty scared for a while, but I'm overcoming it. I haven't gone to therapy at all yet for it. So I'm just like bottling up everything. But that's pretty much it.
Well, and that comes back to the need to humanize you guys so that people recognize, dude, you guys are talking about a teenage girl and you're talking about her getting sexually assaulted. Like, but what level of creep and like, just absolutely disgusting person do you have to be to think that that's a funny joke under any circumstances?
Yeah.
Did
And
any of
it's,
those? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Neil.
well, no, it's fine. I just wanted to comment. 4chan is always going to be a mixed bag because you never have any idea who shows up. But there are also, though, people who use 4chan who did a lot to try to help exonerate your son. And for example, the identifying who Joshua Zeminski was, 4chan did that. Passed it on to me, ended up in my documentary, and that's the only reason that guy, anybody even knew who he was or what his involvement was. So it's easy to throw a label on the whole group, but I get it. Trust me, it justifiably so. There are people on 4chan that, honestly, some of them I don't even think they actually believe the nonsense they're saying. They're just trying to shock people, but at the same time, they also meticulously investigate. Like, they're the reason, for example, I was able to find out who Daryl Brooks was, the guy who drove his car into a parade, because some of the people that are on there legitimately are just interested in trying to get to the bottom of things. So anyway, go ahead, Johnny.
Well, I was just going to ask, did any of those threats reach the level where you were calling the police? Were they needing to investigate those? I mean, obviously, if they're anonymous, there's not much necessarily you can do, but
Yeah, so I didn't go to the police or anything of it because like I felt like, like freedom of speech, like they could say this, but there's no action behind it. So I just like that was the last like thing I've ever read about myself. I stayed off Twitter about everything. So I haven't like that was the last thing I've ever read, and I just put it behind me and just moved on.
it's truly amazing. I can't imagine what drives people to do that kind of stuff. But
Well, again, people are not real to them. They're just playthings. Like that's that's one of the reasons we're doing this. So, Johnny, did you want to read the next question?
Well, when you go out and you're walking around, do people recognize you? Do they say things to you? Are those things? Do you get any encouragement, or do you catch a lot of flack? I mean, what your daily life? What is it like?
My daily life, I go to work, I do my 8 hours, and I go home. It's just one-on-one care. I take care of a little girl with special needs. The family doesn't know who I am. I'm just there to take care of the little girl, and she's wonderful. I love her to death. And when I do go out, it's no one, it's like I'm just another face in the crowd. I am seeing I am seeing a guy, but I didn't tell him my circumstance, what happened to my family. When I moved here, I met a guy, and 3 months later, I told him who I was, and he was like, "Holy shit," And he's like, he goes, "My friends gets a big kick out of 4 doors and more whores," and he goes, "Holy shit!" But he was very, very like worried about my safety. He goes, "I don't want people to know who you are because I'm scared for you." I said, "It's okay. I mean, if it was hindsight 2020, I would never went out. There would never been a us because we were from 2020 till after the trial. When we moved, we saw each other. We lived in a house. That was it. Now we're out of the Midwest. We're in where we're at now, and we can breathe a little bit."
Mhm.
McKenzie, how about you? I mean, do people make the connection?
I've had it happen. It was like recently. It had it happen where when I was at work, somebody had saw my badge and then they figured it out. But luckily they didn't really tell anybody and they just kept it between, like on the down low. And but I don't really tell anybody that I'm Kyle's sister because a lot of people had viewed me as just Kyle's sister. But I'm Mackenzie. I'm not just Kyle's sister. Like Kyle is Kyle. I'm Kenzie. And I don't want people to put a label on me.
Yeah, and that's the reason why you're on the show tonight is because, you are McKenzie and you are Wendy. And I mean, even when you were interviewed, Wendy, on other shows, they really just wanted to talk to Kyle. They just wanted to hear you talk about Kyle, but we're not here for that tonight.
Yeah. I mean, with the interviews before the trial, Mark did not want him to do any interviews. I was Kyle's voice. I didn't like doing the interviews. I was a nervous wreck. And when I did Tucker Carlson, I was scared to death, man. Even Kyle goes like this, "Mom, you're going to be fine. There's going to be 4 or 5 million people watching you." I'm like, "Thanks, Kyle. I really want that." And it made my insides what in knots. And I was like, and everybody, I did not mean to say I will take you down to Biden. I mean, I got shit from my family. It's like, "What the hell did you say that for?" And I'm like, I meant my lawyers will take them down. Not I would like, nope. I was like, I messed up. I'm like, oops. The only thing in the back of my head, yeah, I'm gonna get investigated by the FBI now.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
And by the way, I think it was Lucifer said something, great eye makeup. I don't understand that. I'm wearing sunglasses. I don't understand how anybody could even tell. So
Mackenzie does a beautiful job on her makeup.
I think you were talking about
my
McKenzie.
heart is.
Well, they were clearly talking about me because it's so obvious that I'm wearing it, right?
You look gorgeous.
Thank you. I work very hard on this. This Guy
is how
Fawkes
we
mask.
normally look. This is just my skin.
Okay.
Neil, do you have another question?
Well, we do appreciate that you decided to wear your skin for the interview. That would have been very difficult.
Of course.
So do people? Well, we already did that one. Paige Williams came out with an article in the New Yorker that at the time you looked upon favorably. What is your opinion of that article today?
I had to go back and read it the other day because I remember the article, but I didn't remember what parts of the article. I did not like the title. I'll say it there. I did not like the title, but she did have some good points in the article. And it was, I mean, when we did the interview, it was on the 13th. It was a very emotional interview. It was like 6 to 7 hours long. It was very emotional. And later on, I mean, when she left and stuff like that, I got a call that my mom passed away. And it was very emotional on top of that. And with the article, it did have some good points and it got across. Even Judge Schroeder said he read the article because she did interview Kyle to ask about the what was in his medical bag, because I didn't know what was in it. He came down and he said what was in it, and that was it. You know, she did her job, and there's some parts I didn't care for. There's some parts that she hit nail on the dot.
And by the way, the viewers out there, I have a 5 video series on that article where I read it verbatim and then I give my opinions on it. McKenzie, did you have any comments about that article? I don't recall if you were, if you offered much opinions for the writer. I can't remember.
If I'm honest, I did not read the article.
Okay. Yeah, my opinion of it was that it was a hit piece disguised as, you know, well, they always do this. They're always going to come to you, you know, you just have to tell your story. It's going to be so wonderful you to tell your side. But these writers, you cannot trust them. And my opinion of Paige Williams is not very good. And let me give you an example, Wendy, but you have at the time when Kyle had gotten in trouble at school or something, you had dyslexia and you transposed letters, which happens. She actually typed in verbatim your letter that you wrote to show everybody the change. And then in the actual audio, they pronounced it incorrectly. And I thought, I have never heard in my life an author of an article doing something like that. I mean, why would you do that?
You know, it's like making fun of a person with Down syndrome or special needs and stuff. Yeah, I have dyslexia. I have a learning disability. Yeah, I struggle with that all my life. And that's one thing I get very mad about when someone picks on me about that or calls me out on it. It's you love me for who I am, not like if I can't spell a word right.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Neil? I mean, you know, let's take this letter where there's been letters transposed and let's type it in verbatim to show everybody. What do you think?
Well, I have dyscalculia, which is the less known cousin of dyslexia. My math skills have been frozen at like kindergarten level. Well, now kindergarten level. Like when I was in school, it probably would have been second grade level, but the stuff that they had my kids doing in kindergarten was too much for me. It's difficult, I think, for people to understand how tough it is. You don't always see things backwards, but like mathematical concepts like freeze up in my head. And all of my siblings have dyslexia, so I'm very familiar. We're struggling with that nonsense too. It sucks, and I think that it's interesting to me how back and forth this sort of thing is that, you know, so for example, when Caitlyn Jenner came out on the issue of trans athletes in sports, they turned on her instantly and said horrible transphobic things about her. And these are the same people that would want someone canceled, you know, for daring to even utter anything that they might consider transphobic. Like the rules totally change. You know, I guarantee you that if they caught somebody that they didn't like saying something about somebody's learning disability or their, being disabled, they would want that person canceled too. But again, the rules just move back and forth and left to right. And if they hate somebody, then all bets are off. They can just take the gloves off and just do whatever they want. And, you know, I didn't actually read that because to be honest with you, one of the things that I encountered through all of this was that basically all the media was absolutely useless in my investigation of what happened. Totally useless. And I watched your interviews and stuff because I wanted to get a feel for it. I would say that one moment in particular stuck out in my head was like, you know, when somebody asked you if he should have been there and you said, nobody should have been there.
Yeah.
I was like,
exactly.
yeah, duh. And it's interesting to me because it always begins like as if the chronology of wrongdoing doesn't start until Kyle arrived, not as if perhaps that they may have broken an elderly man's jaw the day before because he was trying to put a fire out, not the people who had AR-15s and were shooting them at police bearcats from the BLM side. I have all that video on my channel. None of that stuff, none of the burning the city down, none of that's wrongdoing. It doesn't start until the kid shows up with a group of people who are kind of sick of their community.
Hey,
Mhm.
Neil, I think we move on. We're
Right, but
starting to get talking about
Right,
what
but the
happened
point
in
is
our-
that
I
as
get
far
your
as
point. I
like
just
nobody should have been there. They don't look at it like that. That's how it should have been. But other than that, I just stayed out of the media because most of it was totally stupid.
Yeah.
I got my information from watching the raw footage myself.
Mhm.
So, but that would have been my comment on that.
okay. And by the way, everybody, we had talked about before the show started that both Wendy and McKenzie understand that we might step in from time to time because of pending litigation. We're here to help them get their words out, get everybody to understand them better. And the last thing we want to do is for something to get broadcast that they would regret.
Mm.
So, okay, time for another question, or did you want to any other you want to comment? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Here we go.
Go for it.
Or
The fundraising pages. This was a really big problem. You would try to create a fundraising effort and it would get shut down. You want to talk about that a little bit? I think this is probably for Wendy mostly.
Yeah, sure. We did a lot of fundraiser because I'm a single mom, barely getting by and stuff like that, and it was hard because we got deplatformed 22 times.
22?
22 times we got thrown off, and Dave helped a lot on that, and he helped so much to try to get us back on and stuff. It was frustrating for him because we got on one platform. 3 hours later, we get thrown off. It was back and forth because people did not want to socialize anything with Kyle, anything. But Dave busted his butt on that, and he worked super hard to get this platform going and going and going. And we finally get it on track, and people try to derail it. And certain lawyers, not mentioning who, tried to don't donate. It was hurting us financially because we were in a red till the trial. And when the trial started, then we started picking up donations and we got out of the red, but we were even. But the 22 times getting deplatformed for it was super hard to raise any money for Kyle's defense. And it was just a big giant headache for all of us that was working for getting this platform started. And I was getting aggravated because Dave was keeping me in the loop and stuff. It's yeah, we got deplatformed again. I'm like, what the fuck, And he's like, calm down, we'll get it, And Dave did his job. He did it best ability he could do. And I couldn't be grateful for him. He busted his butt on that. He made sure we got on the rails and went through and got everything situated. And he did a lot, and a lot of people said some nasty shit about him. But
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's not talk about Dave Hancock much because again, we kind of decided early on that we would not talk about him too much. There's issues.
I do have a quick comment that's just relevant but isn't about him. But Daryl Brooks meaning the guy who drove the car into a Christmas parade and killed 6 people, injured 40, he had a GoFundMe up for a week and they never took it down. I was like, you can be a guy who gets in an SUV and kills a child and elderly people and injures 40 and guns it over their bodies, and they'll let you leave up a GoFundMe for that.
It's crazy.
But Kyle gets taken down like the same
An
freaking day.
hour, less than an hour. People were
Right.
trying to do a GoFundMe like within 12 hours of the shooting, taken down. I mean, it was horrible. Trying to get it. We tried something for financials because we weren't working. It had just a picture of me and the girls. They recognized me and the girls. Didn't mention anything about Kyle or whatsoever. They took it down. And the GoFundMe, they can leave off like people, like you said, Brooks running over 6 innocent people, children, old, the elderly, injuring people, for a week. But the media twisted everything around. I saw an article. There was two
Did we lose?
articles
Oh, there we go.
of Kyle crying and him crying, and they just flopped it back and forth, But I was like, it's like they choose and pick, okay, we're going to do this one. Oh, no, you can't do that one.
It's politics.
Yeah, it is.
If they sense, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, like, actually, I'm going to do a shout out here to this group. Like, for example, on Facebook, a lot of us investigators had started a Facebook group, and then they would all get taken down because Facebook didn't want any pro Kyle stuff on at all. And so then they literally, Orkanut and some of the other investigators made this group and called it the Joseph Rosenbaum Memorial. And it was secretly always a place to put links to help Kyle. And all of our investigations went there. So in other words, we had to disguise our group so that people wouldn't know, because Facebook would try to take it down. And then as soon as he was innocent, I went in and put this as the background and then changed the name of it. We told you he was innocent, as kind of a big FU to Facebook. But stuff like this in social media was so crazy at that time.
Can I say something about Facebook?
Sure.
With Facebook, the day of the incident, a couple hours later, Facebook deactivated Kyle's Facebook and what is it? Facebook, his Instagram, anything. Anybody who had positive things about Kyle, they went to Facebook jail. And when night of the incident, after I had service in my phone, the messages that I got from people calling my family racist, white supremacists, Nazis, horrible. This one person kept on messaging me. It's like, if I was there, I would kick your butt. Just nasty, very nasty people. I don't have Facebook no more. I care not to, because it's garbage to me. Facebook is garbage.
McKenzie, did you have similar experiences with social media?
Yeah, so a lot of people started following me on Instagram, and I had to go through and like basically deactivate my Instagram for a month so people could like forget my Instagram handle, and then I could just change it and then reactivate it. But a lot of my friends, they would post really negative things about my brother, but then they would text me like, if you ever need anything, I'm here for you.
Nice friends.
Sorry, going through this. And then exactly what I would do, blocked. You're not my friend. So pretty much all of my friends vanished. I had one friend, and she stuck through the whole entire thing with me, and her and her family has done nothing but try and help the situation, share the GoFundMe links, reach out to people, like talk to people who would ever talk bad about Kyle, and they would like, I'm so grateful for my best friend.
Well, that is another positive that a situation like this is going to create, is you really will find out who your real friends are.
Oh, yeah.
What were you going to say, Wendy?
Yeah, because people were messaging my friends on Facebook, and stating, how can you be friends with a fat piece of crap like her? She raised a murderer. She raised a this and that. I mean, people were calling my family in Michigan, threatening my family. My nieces had to come to the house because my sister was scared to death, and my mom was sick at the time, and they had to change their number. They had to call the local authorities, the sheriff, and they came over, wrote down a statement, and they'll follow up on it, and they did their job. And my mom got her number changed, and it stopped because they changed the number because Reddick leaked my address, my all my phone numbers, my parents' phone numbers, all my family's number. They had to change everything because of Reddick, and because people were being so nasty to my friends and my family. It was horrible. Even after the trial, the local sheriff department came to my childhood home where my brother lives. And my sister-in-law answered the door. It's like, oh, I remember you from last time. And it's a small town. Everybody knows each other. It's like,
Right.
yeah, we saw the verdict. We're here in case something happens. Just give us a call because we remember from the night of the incident what happened to Wendy's mom and stuff like that, people calling and stuff. And the local sheriff department did step in and helped my family. Mm-hmm.
So, friend of the show, Logical Checkmate, just sent a super chat. I'd like to pull it up. I think we've kind of went over some of this already, but cheers. Can I ask you, what were the darkest moments of the saga and how did you get through them? I think we kind of already went over that, but what was the moment you started to see hope? I imagine when the entire media apparatus and Biden were lying about Kyle, it must have been tough. So when was hope?
It was very tough. And I prayed to God every day, just praying and praying and praying. I didn't go on social media, because I didn't want to see the lies. I didn't turn on the TV because I didn't want to hear the lies either. I avoided every social media out there because I didn't want to see it because it was a lie. They didn't tell the truth. And TV, CNN, none of that. I didn't want to watch it because it was lies.
Yeah, I mean, it must be tough to just sit there and read something in print.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fantasize about what you would do to that person if you ever found them, but there's nothing you can do about it. And it has to be just a real shock. Let me ask you, when did you first time that you saw your name being like out there beyond what you would normally see? I mean, I would look and say, whoa, my name is here. And there are people all over the country seeing it. Did you ever have that moment?
Probably the night of the morning of the shooting.
Okay.
The morning of the shooting, with everything going on, people saying some really nasty stuff about my family, and just saying some very vulgar things about how they're going to shoot up my family, shoot up my cats. It was downright disgusting.
Shoot up your cats. We need to tell people that we're going to kill their cats.
They wanted to kill my cats too.
They better not. My kitty cats are safe and sound. Nobody's.
It's funny is like my kids always joke about that. Like if people are getting hurt in movies, they don't care. But like if that cat dies, I am not watching the rest of this movie. That's how they put it.
Yeah,
anyway,
it was nasty.
And it's amazing to me again. Like just it's all that tribalism that it's okay to do this because you guys are supposedly the bad guys. But so has your last name given you trouble finding jobs or making friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been very, very difficult to make friends because like people my age, they're like in college and they're partying and they go out to clubs, like do all this stuff, and it's like I'm not that type of person. I'm not even a Disney person either. I'm not an amusement park person either. I'm just traumatic. So basically, it's really hard to find friends that I could fit into my bubble because it's just I'm just so different, and it's really hard to put myself in other people's shoes and get out there and be comfortable with like actually living a normal life. But it's really hard because what I've had to deal with, and I'm still dealing with it to this day. Like I have night terrors. I'm not like I wasn't there. I was just on the sidelines of the whole thing. But it affected my life so badly that I have night terrors from it, and I get anxiety a lot because of it. And I never really spoke about it to anybody. I didn't really open up to anybody about it. It was really difficult for me too, because sometimes I like could get sad for a week because of the incident. But it's been incredibly hard to make friends because I feel like nobody could understand me.
Yeah.
Sounds like you'd get along just fine with my daughter. I'll be sure to introduce her to you.
I could like Disney. I like Disney.
So, all right. I guess, Johnny, do you want to read the next one?
Okay. This one I think, can be handled by Wendy, because there's a picture going around with your son holding what I think is a machine gun bazooka. He's like 9 years old. And I'm telling you, that is a terrifying weapon that he's hanging. He's holding.
Oh my God!
Tell us the truth about what happened there.
Okay, my friend, he built it, and when you're 9 years old, you're curious and stuff like that. Kyle, it's a fake gun. It's a fake gun. It was built. It's just totally fake. It is fake. Because my friend built it, and he's not going to let him hold a real gun at 9 years old. It's an airsoft gun. And Kyle just wanted to hold it. That's it. And I took a picture of it, and he thought it was, Kyle smiled and stuff, and he thought, hey, I'm holding something that my friend was built, He wanted to hold it, and that was it. Simple. It's a fake gun.
Who didn't play with toy guns? Like, seriously, who didn't play with toy guns? Like, maybe some really, 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 I don't know, socially whatever people, but like, I played with toy guns. Like, it's just
water
desperate.
guns. Yeah, water guns, Nerf guns, and stuff like that. The kids had them,
Right.
When you're little, you probably had fake guns too. It was a toy. Come on, people.
Right.
It wasn't a real gun. Anybody who is a gun expert would say fake. Come on.
It doesn't look real.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know. That's why the whole thing was so. It's another example of just desperation at trying to find anything they can to try to besmirch you and your family's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So, McKenzie, have you ever played with any toy guns?
Yes. Me and my sister. My sister got a Nerf gun for her birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So this was like last week. So it's like these like little styrofoam, I don't know what, but she's smacking me with it all day, and then I'm just sitting on my computer playing Sims, minding my own business. She comes in my room and she shoots me with it, but it hits my face, and then me and her are just like wrestling for the gun.
Oh God, yes.
I tried. I don't like
clearly, like, obviously, just blatant violent behavior. My goodness. No,
right.
Everybody plays with Nerf guns. Jesus.
I'm gonna throw that Nerf gun in the garbage. I do not like that thing.
The dog doesn't even like it. He starts barking. He's just a little guy. And he's like, but it's so funny when he barks.
He's like this little dog.
So we had another. Oh, go ahead and finish.
I said, he's on the couch sleeping. He'll be up all night.
Okay, so the question is, do you watch Johnny and I's YouTube channels? And if not, why the hell not?
I watched some. I watched some of your videos. I mean videos, and some of them I'm like, I was doing my family thing, cooking dinner and stuff like that, and wasn't on social media because I didn't want to hear anything. But I know you guys were very positive towards Kyle and broke down the videos and stuff. I can be grateful for you guys doing that. And I am trying to catch up on videos, but some certain videos I can't watch because I get anxiety from it from the
That's
night
totally
of
fair.
the shooting. I couldn't watch. I mean, I still can't watch to this day because I get panic attacks and nightmares. And when the 3-year anniversary just happened on the 25th, I couldn't sleep, and I was just having a very bad day of anxiety and being overwhelmed. I was in my room with the door shut because I didn't want to socialize with anybody.
So what about you, Mackenzie? Do you watch any of our stuff?
Okay, so
I have a feeling the answer is no here.
so if bluntly no, but I hear a lot about you guys. Like I get told a lot about what you guys are doing, what you're keeping up with, and then I occasionally watch you guys when I get links sent to me. But it's going back to what my mom said. It's incredibly hard to like watch things that are about Kyle with like the whole shooting and whatnot. But I try to keep up. I just get told what you guys are doing. So it's like 50-50. I know.
This would be a good time for everybody to smash the like button and
Yep.
subscribe to our channels if you haven't done so already. The Johnny Walker Dread channel and VT. Actually, what is it? V Radio?
It's
V Radio.
V-Dash Radio, yeah.
V-Dash
All they
Radio.
got to do for mine is just click the hyperlink to your channel, and they'll find you over there. If you guys haven't already subscribed to Johnny Walker Dread, you should definitely do so. But I think we have pretty much everybody in common by now. And I agree. See, Mackenzie is nodding her head vigorously. Everybody should subscribe to our channels.
I think so.
Just
Oh,
be
before
like
I-
Mackenzie.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Before I forget, I want to wish Dominic a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Rat. I love you.
Happy birthday, Dominic.
It's
When I
Dominic
call
Black's
people
birthday?
rat, yeah.
Awesome.
When I call people rats, like the little kids, my friends' kids, I accept them in the family. Rats and homers. That's what
Wish him
I
happy
call
birthday
them.
at like 1 a.m. I should have been the first one to wish him happy birthday.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
we're looking forward to the day that Dominic gets on here. We've talked about it in the past. So whenever you're ready, Dominic, you let us know. People would love to hear your story too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't put any pressure on people. We only want them to come on when they really feel like that it's the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So moving on, I think we've talked a lot about this, but did you and your daughters receive death threats? I think we kind of went over that. Did the police ever investigate any of the threats? Like, did you
No.
get any kind of no help from law enforcement at all? Go ahead and elaborate.
The day of the shooting, that morning, the girls went different ways. I was dumbfounded. My head was in backwards. Didn't know what to do. I drove around for like 2.5 hours after they took Kyle to Vernon Hills. And Mackenzie called me. It's like, Mom, you need to come to such and such place. And I'm like, I'll try. I wanted to go. The cops told me, do not go back to your home. They had cops there to make sure, undercover police and stuff. I'm like, I'll be fine. And they're like, no, do not go back. And I didn't. I drove around for like 2 to 3 hours. Didn't know what to do, crying, freaking out. I went where Mackenzie was and tried to figure out what we can do. And I called a couple lawyers. One lawyer told me, I will not touch this. God help your son. Another one wanted 200K up front. I'm like, I did not have 200K whatsoever.
Yeah. Like by the next day, he wanted
Yeah.
200K.
Exactly.
And that was to do what again? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
To represent Kyle.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Then John Pierce came along saying,
Are we safe here with this? Because
yeah,
again,
we're safe. We're safe
Okay.
with this. John Pierce came along stating someone needs to get a hold of the Rittenhouse family.
Yeah.
The internet, blah, blah, blah. I talked to his other lawyer, Andrew. Yeah, Andrew. I have to say, Andrew treated my family with respect and dignity. And John only cared about John. Everybody needs, lawyers and stuff to represent them. John only cared about John.
okay, I'm getting a little uncomfortable with it. I'm just looking after you.
It is that.
Well,
I'm
I
just
think
looking after your best
it was
interest.
all right. But no, I get it for sure. And I guess that kind of brings us to it's interesting that you had so much trouble finding somebody to take this case initially, but I imagine when you guys, like when the fundraising finally came together, that started to change. You'd think that lawyers would be falling all over themselves wanting to be involved with such a thing, but so did anyone try to track your family's whereabouts as you moved from address to address? And if so, what were they doing?
I'm not too sure about that one.
We had wonderful security to help us and made sure we were safe. And LT made sure we were safe. I mean, I met him, tall glass. He is super tall. And he told me, I will protect your family. And I have to say, I love LT. And he protected my family. He made sure we were safe. Once it was December, right after Kyle got a couple weeks after Kyle got out of jail and stuff, and that's when I met him. And he promised, it's like, I'll make sure your family's safe. He was like, good. Some days I think he wanted to rip his hair out with my family, because we start arguing over the stupidest shit. He goes, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking for clarification. Who is LT?
He was our security before and after the trial. And
Yeah. They've interviewed him a couple of times, I think, on somewhere, but I've heard from him.
He's wonderful. I mean, he made sure everything was to the T. We had an incident that it was the old landlord that drove in the property, and Kyle was outside with Milo, and he hit the panic button, and LT was like right there and then, and he's like texting me, do not come to the house, because I was at the Walmart getting groceries. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, I need to go home. I need to protect my family, because I was always like the protector of my family. And when the guys came along, it was a different role for me, because they were protecting my family, and I was always the protector of my family, and they knew it. It's like, it's Wendy, I got this. I said, I'll have your back too, because I'll be right there if something happened. And they're like, no. They always tell me, no. I'm like,
right.
They always told me, I got it, but they did wonderful. I mean, I love them to death.
Did you want to give a shout out to Natalie Wisco as well?
Oh, I love Natalie.
I love Natalie.
Yeah.
Natalie is like the most beautiful lawyer I've ever seen. Her hair is like everything. Her hair is natural. It's naturally that color. And it's so amazing. I love her so much.
Yeah, Natalie, oh my God, she is so wonderful. Mark, oh, I love Mark, Corey, Natalie, the death, And before the trial, they want to talk to those girls to pair us. It's like, okay, don't be talking, blah, blah, blah. And Mark goes, he looked at me, we're not going to say anything to no one, right, Wendy? And I'm like, what are you looking at me for? I'm like, because we know how you are. I'm like, I was scared to death. I mean, when we pulled up, it was Kenny and TC in the vehicle, and us girls in the back. And TC was like, okay, okay, girls, we're gonna do this. And the girls went first, and then media just swarmed us. I mean, it's just swarmed us and stuff. And I was like freaking out. I was trying to hold it together. I was like, oh my God, because these people were like, you don't know if someone's going to jump out and stab you with something or just knock you over or put a microphone in your face. And the girls went and I went, and TC was like right there. And when it was getting more and more, LT will come in and media. I remember this day, the media was like all over us. And I grabbed LT's arm and he goes, it's okay, I got you. And I'm like, just be okay, just go. And he goes, I got you. That's all he said, I got you. I'm like, okay, LT, just make sure we're safe. Then closer to the verdict, we just went in the back and they just dropped us off in the back and we just went through the back and they didn't let anybody in because we had to go through metal detectors and stuff like that. And we were like, I wanted to do that, you know. But when when Kyle testified, it was a very emotional day for all of us. The girls didn't go. It was just me and our jury consultant, Joanne. She picked the jury out for OJ. Yeah.
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
She was my rock. Dave was with us. He was my rock also. I cried when Kyle was crying. And I was down. I remember Dave saying something in my ear. He told me a joke. And I was like, it was, what's the dentist's favorite time? I'm like, what? He goes, 2:40. And I'm like, because he wanted to break it. He wanted to break the ice because I was like, I was crying. I was slobbery crying. And both of them were my rocks that day. And when I left the courtroom, TC was my rock when I was walking out. He was like, okay, Mom. I was quiet the whole ride because I would be talking or saying something. I was dead quiet. I was trying to get my bearings back in because Kyle wouldn't talk about the incident that night because he didn't want me to cry or me to worry. But I saw the videos. And it to this day, it still freaks me out. There was a time I asked Dave to take me to the spot where Car Source was. Dave agreed. It's like, okay, I'll take you. That was the first time I'd been there because I wanted to see what Kyle went through. Dave and I walked the whole Sheridan Road where he went down to Car Source 3 and came back. We went to the spot where first gunshot was signed.
Okay, Wendy, just be careful, okay?
Yeah. And I was shaking and Dave was there for me because I wanted to see what my son went through that night, to be there, to see that spot. And because that changed everybody's life, my family's life and everybody else's life. Later on, I had a panic attack in Mark's office. No one was not with me besides David's dog Bailey, and she comforted me. I was freaking out, and no one didn't know that I had a panic attack besides the dog. And I love that dog to the dog. I mean, to death. I love her. And she was like, I was holding her, trying to get back to normal, to be okay, and have my okay. I don't want people knowing I had a panic attack or I freaked out. I didn't want anybody to know in the office that I had one. And I was very quiet that day. Dave was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine, Dave. Thank you for taking me to this spot because I need closure on that." And I was safe. I knew I would be safe with him because Dave promised me that I will always protect you and your family. I will always be grateful for him for that. And I was, ever since that, I never went back there. I mean, we went to the courthouse and stuff, but I never went back to that spot where everything changed my family's life and everybody else's life.
Do you ever return to Kenosha at all?
Yeah, we just went to Kenosha. When was it? March?
We went to I went to Kenosha in February. My papa, he was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer, and basically throughout the trial, I'm gonna get so emotional, but throughout the trial and throughout everything going on with Kyle while he was fighting his first time he got cancer, which he beat, I couldn't be there for him because I was having to worry about with Kyle. And so his cancer came back, and it's stage 4, and it's also in his esophagus, and it's growing pretty badly, and the cancer is winning. So I go up to Kenosha, and it's like the first time that I was there for a while, almost a year, no, over a year since I've been there, and just the emotions with saying goodbye to like my papa and like trying to like hold him one last time. And then that's February, and then he ended up passing peacefully with everybody that loves him, that he loves around him, in March. And we drove up there with Otis, and that was March this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the last time we were in Kenosha, basically.
Yeah.
Just so that we don't get the wrong message out, your papa would not be Michael?
No, it's
Okay, just want to make sure because I didn't want.
Yeah, I call my grandpa my papa.
Okay, it's your grandfather.
Grandpa.
Yeah, my grandpa.
Okay,
The
glad
kids,
to clear that up.
yeah, the grandpas, they call them papas. My dad was the kid's papa. That was always papa. And with their grandpa on their dad's side was papa. And there's another one they just call by his first name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he passed away from cancer. And it was very sad. When we went to Kenosha, we were, I was scared to death, but I wanted to pay my respects to their grandpa, because I knew this man for 20 plus years and we got along great. And it was very sad of this passing. And it was hard going back to Kenosha, but we went there because we needed to have closure on that.
Yeah. My best friend, I know if something were to happen there, that I have my friend's whole family and army just to come to my need if anything were to happen. But we didn't really try to go to stores or go out when we were in the area. But
yeah, they were like, "Hey, we ordered food. Who has a vehicle?" I go, "I got a vehicle." "Oh, can you go pick it up?" I go, "Not with this face."
yeah, we're like,
I'm like, I am not going in any stores in Kenosha whatsoever. I drove. It was dark time. I had sunglasses on. I was it's like 35. I'm like, I'm doing 70.
Have people come to you while you were out and said stuff to you, or have you been verbally attacked at all?
Because it was COVID time, had the mask on, and
Oh,
people,
okay. Now that saved you a
yep,
little.
that right there, that mask saved us, you know. Everybody, oh, I don't want to wear the mask. I had that baby on because at the time I was working at the nursing home with COVID. In the day of, I mean, afterwards, I couldn't go to work. People were calling my work. The media was calling my work also. All my employees, all my coworkers had to park in the back because the situation. And it was very difficult for my coworkers, and people were trying to find me and my family to do, I don't know, God knows what, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a difficult time for my family. One of my friends, she thought, one of the nurses goes like, "Is Kyle shot someone?" Everything, they didn't believe it. Then her boyfriend calls like, "Kyle's on the news. Kyle's on the news." Yes, there's Sasha.
Sasha.
Yeah,
I can
Okay.
call it Sasha because she exaggerates her O's.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and
Well, she obviously had something she wanted to add too. You know,
Yes.
so to all of
She's
you
my
cats
baby.
listening out there, if you cats were ever concerned about how the cats of Kyle Rittenhouse were impacted by this incident, you now know. So please continue.
my coworker, her boyfriend called her. It's like, Kyle shots. There was a shooting and Kyle was involved and stuff. I didn't pick up none of my phone calls. I didn't text anybody because I didn't know. I was like, I fell off the face of the earth because I did not. I said, okay, tell me something about myself that me and you know. My one friend goes, you love cats. You hit on this person all the time. You love Godsmack. I'm like, okay, I can tell, I can trust you because certain people knew certain things about me. And
Right.
my one friend goes like this, I was gonna have you and the girls come to my house or something and just hide. And but I didn't have the room to hide your vehicle in my garage. We even talked to the owner where used to work at the nursing home to see if we can hide you there. You know, they were just going like seeing what we can do because they knew my family and they loved my family, loved Kyle. You know, it was such a it was like it hit it was national news. You know, my friend's daughter lives in London and she heard it and she called her mom and asked. It's like, because people in London was getting backwards, and it's like, wow, you know, it was hidden overseas. What happened that night?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually something. It's ironic you bring that up because Logical Checkmate has just said he fell asleep because it's really late where he is. You know, but he's over in the Czech Republic and was making
Yeah.
videos about this topic, and we used to discuss with him all the time what the European perspective was on what happened to you guys. You know, do you guys have any kind of relationship with, say, Nathan DeBruin or Citizen Ann, also known as Grambo? You know, like, did you guys like make friends with any of the people that were helpful in the trial?
Oh yes, I talked to Nathan here and there. I talk to Nathan when he's with Dominic, and I say hi occasionally.
Mhm.
I've talked to Grambo. I talked to Grambo a couple times,
Mhm.
but I love them both. They're so sweet, both of them.
Yeah, Nathan, hello, buddy. Nathan is family towards my family. I finally met Nathan last year around this time. They came all down here for Dominic's birthday, you know, met him, had a great time with Nathan. When we went to up north, he came over where we were staying, and, and we talked for a couple hours. And he's a great guy. He's part of the family.
Yeah.
I talked to Grambo a couple times, but I did not actually meet her yet.
Oh, okay. I'm sure she'd probably love to meet you guys one of these days. We'll make that happen. So, I guess now, like one of the questions we had on here was, uh, are there any questions out there that you get asked frequently that you would like to take the opportunity to answer now? Meaning things that you're already safe and comfortable to answer, but maybe you're just tired of having to say it all the time. So
And
you
I'm
want to
gonna
get it like
be
out of the head.
watching this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say my one time only. I did not drive Kyle to Kenosha, because that's always, every time I flop it out, his mom drove him to Kenosha. They didn't watch the trial. I
Yeah.
did not drive him.
Even the prosecution had stated that my mother did not drive Kyle to Kenosha.
Yeah.
Even the prosecutor had said that.
And by the way, on Twitter, and I don't know how much you get on Twitter, but if anybody says anything disparaging about either of you, there are a ton of Kyle supporters in there and fight. Kayla is in the chat room. She's one of those. There's Allie and Tucker. And, and I want to be careful about mentioning too, because the people get, there's no way I can mention them all. There's probably 50, 60 Kyle supporters who jump in there and say, So if you want to go on Twitter and say something nasty about Wendy or McKenzie, you'll get ratioed really fast. And it gets ugly pretty quickly. You will not win that debate. And I will say it, those who research the actual facts always end up on one side of the aisle, and those who don't are on the other. The supporters of the Rittenhouses will win every one of those arguments because they just simply know a lot more than those that don't.
Yeah.
So it was a joke that we often said in my Discord, is that it's like the V signal, which is like the bat signal. Somebody will start talking crap, and then they'll tag me and Johnny into the situation. It was like, B Radio has entered the chat. Get ready to lose this one. But it's because of the fact that it's like a full-time job on Twitter. And when we did the anniversary stream a little while ago that you guys watched, it was just that was one of the topics. It's like, how long am I going to have to explain the following things that were known? It's not even like you don't have to be a sleuth. You didn't have to sit there and watch all the video that we watched to get to know already that across state lines is silly. The gun was already in Wisconsin. There's all kinds of different things that we knew a long time ago. And then they blame things on Judge Schroeder. He was obviously, corrupt. That's why he dropped the gun charge. Was like, no, Binger dropped the gun charge because they read the law and realized it was wrong. They was charged in the first place. Like, these are kinds of things they're like simple stuff, but we have to, blame the mainstream media for their part in this because, I don't know if you guys saw the tweets that came out, like, for example, like shortly after the verdict, like CNN had to do kind of like a job of like correcting themselves on a bunch of things that they didn't look ridiculous. But I remember all the tweets saying, wait a minute, you mean he didn't shoot any black people? It's like, no, you morons. It's like, we knew that on the first night. What are you talking about? It's just, there was so much crazy stuff. And unfortunately, it's reflective of so many things going on in this world right now. But I think it is important for, to bring up what Johnny said, which is just that, for any time you guys are dealing with this nonsense, you've got to just focus on the people that support you. I mean, they're all over my chat right now. That's why I keep highlighting some of them. It's just to say, hey, way more people support you in the long run. Only people who don't know what the hell they're talking about don't. And, just focus on that, and so, but that's why I'm really happy that you guys came on. And again, if you ever do have is there anything else that you wanted to clear up other than that one? Like, is there anything that you get asked constantly that you want to address, either of you?
Normally if I get asked like the same question over and over, I just like don't respond or don't read it. I just like, are you stupid or stupid? And I just ignore. I go on about my day and let them wonder if they keep on asking me.
It's like after.
Well, if you're taking joy in that, I won't interfere. Go ahead, Wendy.
I mean, I had my Twitter account for the trial. And after the trial, I it's like I changed my name and call it a day because I don't like social media because it's always one sided, and I'm like I'll go on it here and there, but it's like it's the same cycle over and over again. But I have to say, some of those memes are quite funny, and like I chuckle at them. You know, people. I know Kyle's gonna get mad at me.
Okay, hold it. If Kyle's going to get mad at you, might not want to say
Kyle's
it.
gonna be mad at me. I started laughing so hard when someone put makeup on him and he looked like a clown. I started laughing so hard. He's like, I know him. He's like, what the fuck? You know, to me, it's funny. I mean, I have to laugh. Certain things are you have to laugh
You
at.
have them recreate it.
Yeah, you know, it's quite. Sometimes these people take time out, like, okay, let's airbrush some makeup on them. Let's put a clown thing on it. Put Bigfoot in the background.
Yeah.
It's to me, I get a chuckle out of, but it's like you took like what an hour of your time just to make a meme to make like, hey, look at me, you know. But it's such it's to me, I get a kick out of it sometimes. I just have to laugh about it.
Yeah.
But you know, my family has a sense of humor. We just laugh, you know. We just laugh about it, you know. It's like, yeah,
You might as well.
That's honestly probably the best way to go about it at this point, and it'll help to dissipate the stress and all that. I mean, really, there's, you know, honestly, justice was done, and I often think, you know, about like just how much the world has changed because now we've all got cameras in our hands. You know, imagine how all this nonsense would have went down if we didn't have that. You know, like if it was just, you know, the words of people there against the words of other people there, you know, and it definitely also just changed the country in a lot of ways. And it's still rippling. We'll see how it goes. And, you know, I'm happy that you guys have been able to stay strong, you know, through all of this. And I hope that you will continue to do that. And I imagine, you know, things are probably starting to die down. You know, like you guys are probably getting less of it now, right?
Yeah, you know, we do. You know, we're just normal people. You know, we go to work, we do our jobs, come home, make dinner, sit down and watch some TV, and do it all over again. You know, and we're just, you know, we were thrown in a situation. I mean, Kyle had how can I say it was self-defense. You know, we were in there. We stuck by him from that moment and on, and we'll always have Kyle's back, always. And I love my son. He's my only boy. He's my he holds me back when I'm mad, you know. And our family changed so much. We were strong as a family then. We're stronger now. You know, with all the bullshit aside, you know, we're a family, and family will always have each other's back. I love Kyle. He's my little Homer, you know. And he has this, before this, he had this wellness of he wanted to take care of people, you know, and you always have that. You always have that, hey, I'm here to take care of you, you know. Even when if I don't hear anything from him, you know, he'll call and say, hey, Mom, what you doing, you know? Or, I mean, last year, one of my cats passed away. He he was in Texas at the time. He's like, I'll be right there, because he knows how I am. He got at the house. He's like, Mom, you okay? And I'm like, I'm crying still because one of my cats passed away. And Faith goes, Mom didn't eat anything for like 2 days. And he was in the kitchen making me something to eat because he wanted to make sure I was okay. He's like, Mom, you need to eat something. And that's the character I always loved about Kyle. He always made sure we were okay, you know, and he has that I will always be there for you, Mom, no matter what. And I, I love that about Kyle. You know, even with the girls, they have their characters I love about them. They always ask, Mom, am I your favorite? Am I your favorite? Am I your favorite child? I go, see, because it's like, it's me.
I'm just saying, like, I cook dinner every night. I clean the house every day. How can I not be your favorite?
I always tell them it all depends on the day of the week. That's a good answer.
7 days a week. It's Kenzie.
You know, I said, no, I don't have a favorite child. Everybody goes, oh, before this, they're like, oh, it's Kyle. It's Kyle. No, Kyle was not my favorite. Yeah, Kyle came to work with me. Kyle went to the grocery store. I rather take
Kyle's okay.
Yeah, Kyle's okay. I rather take Kyle shopping with me than the girls because we were in and out of the store in less than an hour. We were in that store for like 10 minutes. Even school shopping, he goes in, grabs what he needs, like, Mom, I'm done. I said, Kyle, thank you, because I don't like walking around the store with Mackenzie. And 2 hours for a pair of shoes one time for that girl. And it was her shot.
4. It's hard finding size 4 shoes. We were just discussing this.
So, well, I want to say personally, Mackenzie is my favorite of your kids because she came on the show. So, you know, that gives her big points for, I would say, for me and Johnny.
Although
So,
Faith was upset that she wasn't going to be able to make it out.
well, you know, she can come next time. You know, and then she can be our other favorite.
No,
You know,
Faith is
equal
like
opportunity.
a carbon copy of me, you know, a lot younger.
Mhm.
Everybody says, oh my God, your kids look alike. No, the funny story, Kyle will kill me now. When the girls were little, Hannah Montana was
No, don't tell this, Mom. This is embarrassing.
Oh, we want to hear this one.
Kyle, if you're out
Mackenzie,
there,
you
your
quiet
sister
over
is
there.
trying to save you right now.
no, it's about Kyle. They put a wig on him and
That's
they
so
put a wig on him, the Hannah Montana wig, and he looked a carbon copy of
Okay,
him.
hold on a second. Wait, I just want to step in. It doesn't look like Mackenzie wants this broadcast.
Yes. But it was quite funny.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
leave
take
it at
your
that.
word
I'm
for
sorry,
it, but you know, if you have any photos of it, I will unofficially like
Oh
to see
no.
them.
It's so
I'm just kidding.
I remember when the kids were little, Mackenzie and Kyle got into it. Mackenzie went back in the house, grabbed her purse.
Okay, hold on a second. Is this Mackenzie approved? This message?
No, it's not approved.
Okay.
Well, you know what,
Yes,
Mackenzie,
it was
though,
approved.
on the
I'm sorry,
positive
we're gonna
note, I
have
have
to,
to say that you are a great sister because I got to tell you, if my kids were in this situation and somebody was wanting to say something embarrassing about the other one, they would have been like, "Oh yeah, tell them all about it, tell them all about it."
No, like I was saying, Mackenzie was mad at Kyle. She went back in the house, emptied out her little purse. We had a basketball. It went back and we had a basketball hoop and she had some rocks there. She put rocks in her purse. Kyle said something to her. She took her purse and started swinging it at Kyle. Her dad and 2 of my neighbors were over. My one neighbor is like 6'6", the other one's 6'2", just dying laughing. I'm trying to break them apart. I'm yelling at them, help me break them apart. And Kyle was like, oh, Mom, it hurts. I'm like, yeah, she's hitting you with rocks, baby.
Okay, I wouldn't say that they were rocks. They were like pebbles from the side of the road. Like nothing too serious.
Well,
But
okay, that wasn't that bad, Mackenzie.
But it was funny. These
played
old men were laughing so hard. My friend, the 6'6", Chris, and he was like overkill. He was just on the ground, just holding his stomach, laughing so hard. And my other friend, Clint, was just dying laughing, just crying because this little girl, like 40 pounds, 6 years old, with rocks in her purse, is just like, bop, bop, bop. But it was quite funny, but not for Kyle.
He forgave me.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he wants to get revenge, he is free to come on the show anytime and tell any disturbing / funny stories that he wants. So Kyle Rittenhouse, if you're listening and you would like to come on and share some embarrassing stories about your siblings or your mother, we are equal opportunity when it comes to that kind of silly stuff here. So
If he shares embarrassing stories about me, I'm gonna share embarrassing stories about him. I know one more.
This
I know
could be
one
very
more.
lucrative.
the gauntlet has been dropped here on V Radio and Johnny Walker Dread. Kenzie Rittenhouse versus Kyle Rittenhouse in a Nerf war. Tune in next week.
No, Mackenzie's my feisty one, man. She is my firecracker. She's, I mean, I always
kid. I used to listen to Godsmack with my mom and my dad. I used to listen to Pantera. I grew up on Motley Crue, Nirvana, all that stuff. I was like a little alternative, and I acted like a boy when I was younger.
I love Godsmack too, by the way.
Yeah.
I love Godsmack.
Oh, yes.
I'm still a fan.
Of course.
So people are saying you're a lot of fun. $5 super chat for this over the Dobrin. A lot of people are laughing about your family stories too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're just a normal family. We have our ups and downs and stuff, but we're always have each other's back. With 3 kids, Faith is she's my sensitive. She would talk to you and stuff. When I'm mad, Kyle's he'll hold me back and stuff because I'm ready to go. He's my person that holds me back. Mackenzie's like, okay, Mom, let's go. That's how my kids are.
So Mackenzie's the devil conscience, and Kyle is the one who gives you your restraint. That's awesome.
He holds me back. But Kyle, when COVID hit, I was at the hospital, and when I was coming through the sliding glass door, he locked it. He hands a can of Lysol to me, and he goes, "Here." I'm like, "What's this for?" You wearing the COVID unit. This is before we had everything. We didn't know. It was like, oh my God, COVID, with the little cross thing. He tells me the Lysol, he goes, "Spray yourself." I looked at him. I'm like, "Kyle." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Yeah, you spray yourself because we don't know what this shit can do." And I'm like,
right.
Myself with COVID, took my shoes off and went straight to the shower. But still, he's sitting back, when I was in my room, he's talking to me out in the hallway. He's like, "How was your day? Did it, And he's how bad was it?" I'm like, I said, "It was bad, buddy. Really, really bad." He goes, "Oh," and he goes, "That's bad." Then I went back to the nursing home, and he was like, "Mom, how was it at the nursing home?" I said, "It's bad." Once the residents went out to the hospital, they never came back. It hit our nursing home so bad. It's like we lost 20 people in a month or less than a month with COVID. And I lost my favorite resident. He was such a sweetheart. And I still have I found a little picture of him in looking for something. I'm like, "Oh, my little baby." He was such a sweetheart.
So that's what you do then, is you care for people in a nursing home?
Right now I used to take care of the elderly with dementia and Alzheimer's up in Illinois. And when we moved, I was trying to get my CNA license transferred. It was a lot of red tape for me, and it just relapsed after 2 years, because if you don't use it and within 2 years, you have to get recertify it, and it's just been a hassle. And I found a job in the healthcare field. It's a one-on-one care, taking care of a little girl with special needs. She's total care. She's nonverbal, but she understands when you're talking to her. G2, she's diapers. She doesn't walk, wheelchair. She goes to school, and she's a sweet little girl, but she does have her moments in the beginning. But now I make her laugh. She loves cats. I make cat noises for her, cow noises. You know, I do therapy with her. And she's 16 years old. She's such a pretty girl, you know, and some days she has her good days and some days she has her bad days. And before, Thursday before the incident, I was sad and she picked up on it and I was changing her and I told her, come on, baby, get up, sit up over me. And she sat up and she knew I was sad and she hugged me. She hugged me and I'm like, I said, oh, baby, thank you. And she goes, and she hugged me more. I said, you knew I was sad. And she smiled at me. I put her back in her chair and we just watched her shows and stuff like that. She sensed that I was sad and she can pick it up. She's very smart, but she can't verbal what she's saying. But she's adorable little girl.
And it really like it says a lot for you that you're the kind of person who takes on a job like that. It is to be a very special kind of person who has that kind of empathy and compassion and patience. I have to ask a personal question. McKenzie, you said you listened to Motley Crue.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. You see, I'm an 80s rocker, so I was like, wait, what? You know, other than my daughter, who for some reason like has the same musical interest as me. But it's one of the reasons I wanted to ask you this. This is almost kind of a segue, but like, how do people in your generation discover music like Motley Crue?
If they were raised right.
Oh, mom's putting up. Okay, I see what you got there.
No,
All right.
Okay, Mom, if I'm honest, it was Dad.
And me too.
It was
Well,
Dad.
she did say Godsmack earlier. A lot of people in the chat were like, what? Godsmack? Like, they just couldn't believe it.
There's this
Yeah,
picture
go ahead.
of me from 2011. I don't know how old I was. I don't want to do the math, but I had like raggedy hair and I was just wearing an oversized Godsmack shirt, like just staring at the camera, and I looked like a zombie.
Yeah.
So you see, this is again some of that personal touch. You know, for me, it was like my son is also a musician. He's a guitar player, and he's into some of the same bands I am, and then he's into some other ones that we're not. With my daughter, I wasn't even sure because I had never discussed music with her. But when she's a wrestler, so she had an MP3 player, and I asked her what music she wanted on, and that she spit out, well, I would like some Motley Crue, Iron Maiden. And I was like, what? Like, where did you even hear about Iron Maiden? You know. And I didn't have a problem with it, but again, music's a little different now thanks to the internet. So it was awesome to hear that personal anecdote from you, though. And I hope you continue to listen to Motley Crue and other '80s bands. Because I think the music of that era is very good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the best metal band is out now. It's a group called Bellacore out of Australia. Incredible. I love them. And Haggard out of Germany. So just glad to throw that in there. And by the way, I am a former reggae DJ, dub DJ. That's how I got the name Johnny Walker Dread. So if anybody wants to know.
Right.
I mean, the kids grew up on like, let me see, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Motley Crue, Godsmack.
We can't forget. I also grew up. I had another side. I grew up on One Direction.
Yeah, the kids had that too.
Right.
I still fangirl over them.
Yeah, and I mean Rob Zombie. I love Rob Zombie.
Well, Rob, he was good.
Yeah, I love Rob Zombie. His movies, I mean, very
terrifying.
It is so
a little sketchy there.
See White Zombie when it was a band White Zombie in a very small theater before they had really blown up. And that first album of theirs is the kind you can just put on and just leave the whole thing on and just listen to the whole thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I like some of his movies. I like the Halloween movies that he actually did. And those are the only ones that I can watch. I can't watch scary movies. And he showed how Michael Myers came to be Michael Myers. I'm like, but the other one who did the original Halloween movies is like didn't show that, and he did that. I'm like, wow, that's like kind of interesting,
I never knew that.
I also love country. Up north and stuff. I'm a Midwesterner. I'm a Michigan girl. Grew up there when I was 23. Then I moved down to Illinois.
I'm actually in Michigan right now.
What part?
Right now I'm in. Well, I'm close to Lansing.
Oh, okay.
Close to Lansing. I'm gonna
Close
say
to
that. I have Antifa that hunt me too. So
Yeah.
um,
I grew up
Wow.
2 hours north of Grand Rapids in a little town called Wellston.
oh,
You
okay.
blink, you miss. And only there's two people that I actually bumped into. One went to my high school, he graduated my high school back in the 50s, was James Earl Jones. I met him twice, once in sixth
Oh,
grade.
wow.
Yes, the voice of Darth Vader.
Also, Ted Nugent.
And Ted Nugent
Up there.
also.
So this means then that you know what a Michigan left is, and you've probably drank some Vernors.
Yeah, oh, that's when I'm sick, man. That's all I want when I was sick.
We were talking about this the other day, me and my mom. So she was really sick, and she was like, "Could you drive to Publix and pick me up some burners?" I was like, "Okay." And I'm looking through the soda aisle trying to find burners, and couldn't find
Yeah.
it. I saw another brand. I knew it was ginger ale. I saw it for like $11 a case, and I was like, $11
Yeah.
a case. So I just grabbed Canada Dry and checked out, and she was like, "What is this? This isn't burners."
No, it's definitely not Vernors.
No.
Vernors is way better than Canada Dry.
Exactly. If you grew up in Michigan, you know when you're sick, it's burners all the way. There's
Right.
I like ginger ale. I feel like Canada Dry and that other one. I don't know what the other one is named.
Mhm.
But I like all ginger ale. That's my favorite soda. That's the only soda I'll drink is ginger ale. Like the nice ginger, love it.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter to me.
I don't think I've ever heard of this Vernors. What is that?
That's because it's a Michigan thing.
It's a Michigan thing.
It's
It's
an
like
exclusive ginger ale that's like manufactured here in Michigan.
yeah, it's like Fago too. Fago's really
Was
big.
Fago Michigan only? I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
Fago's
Yeah,
Michigan
Fago's
thing.
delicious.
I like the cream soda. That's actually, you see it down here but it's not the same. I mean, there's this little place by where I grew up at. They have the best beef jerky. You have venison, elk.
Talk about that. That's so
I-
Elk
so
beef
good.
jerky is the best. Oh my God,
The
it's good.
venison jerky from the store where I grew up at is the best. I mean, when we went and visit my mom and my family back in 2019, not seen them for a long time. I told the kids, I said, we need to go to the store to get this beef jerky. I'm like, I raved about it and stuff. It's venison. They
Mhm.
have kangaroo and ostrich and elk. I mean, it was the kids had the venison, and they're like, oh my God, Kyle was like, oh my God, this is so good, Mom. Even when we went back for my mom's funeral, I said we had to stop there to get some. And they had these milk doves that Dave bought. Those were actually, I never had those before. Those were good. And I was telling the kids about it, and we bought some some venison, some bear, and some elk, and some alligator. And when you had this venison, nothing compares to what that store brought.
Mhm.
And it's one of the best places that you can get it from. And you can order it online and also on there, and they'll ship it to you. But I was like, you look at the shipping, and it's like, I can just have my family just ship it to me.
So
By the way, I'm seeing a lot of heavy metal bands listed in the chat. I'm sorry if they're not better than Bellacore. Bellacore is better, so you're just going to have to live with that.
Oh, I see Sammy Hagar. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody didn't say anything about Kid Rock. I mean, I like Kid Rock also.
have you guys listened to Guns N' Roses? Like they
Yes.
actually really sound good right now, which is very surprising. But like Axl went to like vocal lessons and all that to learn how to take care of himself better. And Slash sounds fantastic. And funny thing is, he's like frozen in time. he still looks exactly like he did when I was a teenager, but like the rest of them have all definitely shown their age,
Oh,
but still,
yeah.
it's amazing to me how great they are right now.
But you know what?
What were you gonna
I
say?
went and saw Gary Newman, from the days of Cars, the song Cars.
Mm.
He's reinvented himself in Gothic, what they call wave Gothic or whatever. It was fantastic. I mean, he's really, really good. I think he's better now than when he was back then. So Gary Newman, if you ever get a chance to see him, go check out his shows. Probably the best visual display I've ever seen in a concert.
Mm. Even let me see, we lost was it Meatloaf a couple years ago? I loved
Oh, Meatloaf. He was so awesome.
I love Meatloaf. I mean, he was one of my favorite singers, and I just went on like TikTok one day, and it's like R.I.P. I'm like, what? And I had to go on Google, and it's like, no, I started crying because I love Meatloaf. I mean,
wasn't he in some movies?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
The only one I think of, he was in.
He was in Fight Club, and he was in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep, and he was in with Patrick Swayze. That one movie I can't remember. Oh shoot, what movie
Now I'm gonna have
was
to
it?
go look it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he I actually that's another Michigan question then for you, Wendy. Is it DTE Music Theater or is it Pine Knob? You ever been there for a concert? Never been there for a concert? Well, you might be too far away if you were up there, but yeah, basically it's like one of the smaller places, but there's really no bad tickets, even if you're sitting on the grass. But that's where I went to see Meatloaf, and that's what popped in my head when I came up.
Yeah.
So then what about Michigan State or Michigan Wolverines?
Wolverines.
Oh, excellent answer. Well done.
Yep.
Go Blue. Let's go Blue.
I didn't see you responding to that one.
I don't know.
Well, she didn't live in Michigan.
Yeah, it was State or Michigan, and as Wolverines. I know one person. We gone really.
Is that a football
Sorry,
team?
buddy. Yes, it's Michigan.
Well, it's
State and
the whole thing.
Since I was
I
born
follow
in
the wrestling.
Illinois, I like the White Sox over the Cubs.
Yeah, we're Cubs fans. We love the Cubs.
I just said I'm a White Sox fan.
You really? I didn't raise you right.
Uh-oh.
So there's about to be a family fight right here on V Radio.
What's your favorite football team?
The Bears.
Chicago Bears, like the 80s when they just owned everything.
80s, 90s.
Yeah.
What has the Bears even been to the playoffs or even won a Super Bowl recently?
No, unless they won a couple years ago when Urlacher was in the thing.
Many years ago.
Yeah, but they have to build their team back up. But I have to say, the Lions. I mean, I'm from a Michigan.
The Lions.
Oh yeah, they beat the Chiefs last week.
Yeah, they're actually starting to have an upsurge.
Yeah, and I have to
crazy.
say, I was actually shocked on that because and I'm from Michigan. I don't root for the Lions. I was like really shocked they won. I'm like, oh my god, they won! And I'm like, they beat the Chiefs. I was like, holy crap, But
we're usually pretty much just the Red Wings, and then sometimes the Tigers are good.
The Red Wings, the Pistons.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them. And the Pistons are sometimes really good too. In fact, they were like during my teenage years, they were the Kings.
Oh yeah, when I was a teenager too, there was the Pistons and the Bulls. They used to go back and forth. My late brother-in-law, he would have the games on, and he would go back and forth between the Bulls and Pistons. But he was always a diehard Piston fan. And I mean, it was actually, was it back in the late 80s, early 90s? I mean, they were beating the Bulls, and that's when the Bulls came a dynasty. They like won so many games.
Everybody, I remember those days.
Everybody wanted to be Michael Jordan.
So I want to take a moment to address the audience and just let you guys know that this is the reason why you tune into V Radio, because we get you the real truth. We get you the deep, dark secrets you would have never heard anywhere else other than here with V Radio and Johnny Walker Dread. Did you get to learn their musical taste? Did you get to learn their favorite sports teams? Did you get to learn their favorite ginger ale? That is why you need to support independent media over mainstream media. And you get to see them be human beings. They're not just subjects. They're people. You're going to get an opportunity to see them, as real people And, I mean, where else were you going to go to find out? I mean, we put in a description, be ready for some shocking revelations. So now we know, for example, that McKenzie listens to Motley Crue. Where would you have learned that? Anywhere else? Nowhere else but here.
Oh,
I'm done patting
someone
myself on the
say
back. Go ahead.
Cowboy fan. Someone said Cowboy fan. Yes, I was
Yes.
I was a Cowboys fan, and I still have my Troy Aikman jersey over 25 years ago.
Wow. I
Yep.
remember that one.
Yep.
Well, that is
It's still
crazy.
hanging up in my closet, and it's like I was going through it, and I picked it out. I'm like, wow, this thing didn't break apart yet. And it was like I was a Cowboys fan a long, long time ago.
So super chat from Mountain Goddess. She's one of my regulars.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for giving us a little insight into your family. You guys rock. Well, we confirm that because one of them listens to Motley Crue and the other one listens to Metallica and Godsmack. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. They were just joking with you, but yes. So in any case, we've been at this now about 2 hours. I don't know if they ever discussed with you how long you were going to be on, but I really appreciate you guys coming on. I think I heard McKenzie mention being hungry, and that's why she didn't want us to discuss food. So, but in any case, it's been awesome. And I hope that, this also gives you guys an idea. You got to have some fun tonight talking about your life and talking about what kind of people you are. And I hope that you'll be interested in coming back sometime, maybe under circumstances that are less about trying to clarify this kind of stuff and maybe just to comment on world events. Because sometimes we have panels for things like that, and you can just get to be people discussing, your views on things. So did anybody, Johnny, did you have anything else you wanted to go over with them before we're done?
No, I just do want to say, go Oklahoma, beat Texas. That's as far as the sports thing, as far as I want to get that in there. But no, I really appreciate both of you coming on. This has been wonderful. And again, as Neil said, people get to see the side of you that they really needed to see.
Yeah, we're just normal people, the situation, no one, I don't wish this upon anybody, and it's been difficult for my family and then the other families too, we're just normal people, it's hard for everybody in this situation. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Well, I think go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I also want to say that all the viewers out there, especially the ones on Twitter, like Robert Shurashah and Kayla and Ali and Tucker and all those, when you go in there and you defend the Rittenhouse family, I take notice of it. It's not going unnoticed. We do appreciate everything that you do in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And, thank you guys for supporting us through this whole thing because, we were generally the smaller channels covering this issue, but getting to the really dirty nitty gritty of it, and there were a lot of people that, got boosts from, covering this situation, and going forward, though, I hope that you guys can have a more normal life and that this becomes something that, eventually you could even wake up one day and not think about, and you'd be able to just go forward with your lives because you're obviously both very warm, fun souls to be around. Those are one of the things I was just thinking. I was like, geez, these are people I would hang out with, and that's why I think it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview the way we did it. Because I think now, probably looking back on it now, like when you were getting ready to come on, you're like, oh man, I'm so nervous. What are we going to talk about? And then we have fun talking about burners,
Yeah. We're just
Go ahead.
normal. We're just normal people, we just, whatever. I always say past is a past, your future is your future, and your present is your present. You're the only one that can do what you in your present for your future. Your past, you can learn from it and the mistakes and what happened. You have to go through it. You wish you can go back and change it, but you can't. But you have to go forward to make sure you're safe, your family's safe, and just go on. You can't dwell about the past. You just have to move forward. There's a lot of people that were in the Rittenhouse circle that was let go. Some are still in the circle, some are family and some is like, see ya. But, it's, you learn from what you go through and what you don't want to go through again. And I look at it, I'm looking forward for the future and the present. And I'm the only one that can decide on my destiny. It's it's what I make of it and what I choose, what I want to do and everything. I I'm choosing to stay away from the line, the circus, the media circus. I don't want that. I want to focus on my children, my girls, my son. I want the best for my children. And that's how I want to look at it. And you got people try to degrade you, try to break you down. Sometimes when you read it, it does hurt. You do cry. They're just words, and I don't care no more. At one point it did hurt, yeah, and it did bug me, and I had to have tougher skin, and just say, I don't care no more. You can post it all you want, but I know there's someone out there, people out there will defend my family no matter what. I mean, defend my family and go for, like, hey, this is not it. You didn't watch the trial, or hey, this is what actually really happened. There's some people did not watch the trial and still posting what they heard on
Or
the TV.
what they want to believe.
Want
Yeah,
to,
that's really what it's about.
Or what they want other people to believe.
Yes.
That's been the kind of ongoing theme, unfortunately.
To me, it's like, it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years, and it's hard to move forward when someone's always trying to pull you back in this, suck you back in, like, oh, you did this, you did that. It's like, I don't want that. I just want to move forward, go to work, take care of my daughters, my son, my cat, my dogs, and just be a family, be kind of normal, if you want to call it that. What is normal? A lot of things. I just want the circus to end and just be who I am. One day I probably want to get married again, but
Well, you did meet a guy, so
I know, but I don't know. We're just taking it slow. But he doesn't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He doesn't know that. I mean, he's not political. I asked him. I said, "Are you a political person? Because you know how you have to." See, he goes, "No, I don't watch politics. I don't." I said, "I got that vibe. You don't do that crap." And I'm like, "Good." I'm like, okay, maybe, but one day at a time. But I want my girls to go out, go to school, go to college. Kyle go do college, or do what my kids love to do, And it's hard, especially with this economy now. It's like we're working paycheck, It's
right.
very, very hard, It's some days you have to look, okay, which bill do you have to cut a little bit to make rent? It's been difficult, very difficult. But people think have all this money. No,
Right.
I don't. No, I don't. Lawyers are very, very, very expensive. And there's lawyers that took advantage of you and sucked.
Okay.
Yep,
Hold
dry.
on. Let's not go there. Again, I just want to step in because I'm wanting to make sure that we walk away from this feeling good about everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's.
I don't want to lose the afterglow from all the great conversation we had earlier.
Yeah, but it's like last interview I did was almost 3 years ago, and I stepped away from it. When you asked Dom's mom about, hey, blah blah, let's talk. I want to talk to Wendy and stuff. And I thought about it. And I'm like, I want to tell my story, how my family went through with this ordeal. I wanted people to know who Wendy and McKenzie and Faith is, because we were shot into this thing of being, that's Kyle's mom, that's Mackenzie's, those are Kyle's sisters. I'm Wendy, that's Mackenzie.
Right. Like she said at the beginning, I'm actually Mackenzie. My name is not Kyle's sister.
My
Yeah.
mom's gonna steal my slogan.
Oh, I'm sorry, baby. But you know, we're just
I'm gonna get
regular
that
people.
trademarked.
You know, yeah, you know, I enjoy, I mean, I was, before this incident, I was happy-go-lucky, trying to have a smile on my face. And some people, if I don't smile, I have the RBF face. But you know, I like to make people laugh. I would if I get one person to laugh one day, I'm like, okay, I did my job. I always like want to make people laugh. And that's how I am. It's like I'm always like, hey, how you doing? You know, hey, how you doing, Stan? Or hey, whatever, you know.
Right.
I'm that person. I was that person, you know. But now it's like sometimes you have to look over your shoulder. But now, and I mean, you have to look over your shoulder within those 3 years. Now it's like I can take a deep breath and walk outside knowing that I'm just a face in a crowd. And that's what I want to be. I want to just be a face in the crowd, not worried to seeing who's behind me want to stick me with a knife or choke me to death. I don't want that no more. I just want to be that face in the crowd.
So when you look over your shoulder now, just, you know, when you look over your shoulder now, just consider that we got your back. You can
Well, at
imagine
all
us.
times, if I'm in the ghetto, I'm going like at least 90.
Fair enough. Mackenzie, do you have any final thoughts?
No. I just have to go to the bathroom really bad. I've been sitting here
you know,
for like
you
6
heard
minutes.
that here,
Like,
guys. Exclusive knowledge about Mackenzie's need to go to the bathroom. So,
Yeah.
any case, did you have anything final, Johnny, before we go off? I usually talk to people briefly off the air after the show, if that's okay with you guys. I promise won't be more than a minute, but was there anything else, Johnny?
Well, first of all, go to my channel and subscribe to my channel, the Johnny Walker Dread Show. I would just like to thank everybody who has helped Wendy and McKenzie and the Rittenhouse family on social media, correcting the record constantly. You see something disparaging, you'll see like 30 responses, and they're all solid, straightening the record out. I really appreciate everything that you do in that regard. And I don't know if there's anything else I'd like to bring up. I am, by the way, absolutely annihilating Rashad Ritchie, the blowhard. So if you're interested in seeing me take him down, he wrote a book recently on quantum physics. And unfortunately for him, that's my area. So I've been kind of training my guns on him. So
I don't know who that is.
What was that?
I don't know who that is. Sorry.
Rashad Ritchie? Oh, you don't want to know. He's a race grifter. And so
it's best that you probably don't, because he would drive you crazy. You're better off just not turning it even on. But he and I, Johnny and I work in this business of correcting people when they're lying, and he's somebody who does a lot of lying. So I guess so. As far as my final outro, guys, if this is your first time checking out V Radio, you can go back into my archives and see an awful lot of interviews with different people involved with this. My documentary got the first actual shooter identified, Joshua Zeminski. He actually argued with me in my chat at one point.
I remember that. That.
And then same thing. I argued with Gage Grosskreutz at one point too. Go ahead and say what you were going to say.
It was about the court thing. When Kyle was on trial and there was a recess. And when I was walking out, Zeminski was sitting like 7 feet away from me. And I was standing there and he was just laughing. My eyes just locked on him. I was frozen and I was shaking. And I was like, and one of my security guards was with me to see. He's like, "Come on, mom," and he was like, "Budget." I could not move, and because I was like, "Dad," like deer in the headlights, just looking at him. He's just smiling and laughing. Thought this was a joke.
Well, he thinks it's funny on his way to prison now. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It is what it is. You know, it is what it is. You know, I moved past that, put it in my rear view. You know, I have to look forward to my future and my present. You know, it is what it is, and so.
So, and if you guys want to, you can go to hy.page/vradio where you can find me on BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, all of those places, because the algorithm does not appreciate us. If you cannot afford to support us financially, you can, if you can support us, you can go to BitChute. I'm not sorry, BitChute, PayPal, Subscribestar, or Patreon. This is pretty much the only thing I do other than coaching, so because I'm disabled. But if you can't do that, then at least share the links to our streams, because the algorithm doesn't like people who tell the truth. They begrudgingly accept people who get a really big audience, but if you're smaller creators like Johnny and I, the algorithm does not like us. So you can share our stuff, and that's one of the best ways to support us. So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. We are going to go ahead and go off the air. I'll talk to you guys briefly when we're done. And if you guys have not, again, subscribe to Johnny Walker, make sure that you do. I have a lot of channels that are in my recommended channels that you guys might also like if you enjoy his content. Strategic Eyes, Logical Checkmate, Good Logic. He's one of my favorite of the LawTuber guys. They're all been highly supportive of me in the past, and I look forward to that. Cross promotion is what we do. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in tonight.
I want to say thank you
go ahead.
for having. I want to say thank you for having me and McKenzie on, and for you guys breaking down all the videos and doing all the breaking down of the papers. Johnny knows almost what I'm talking about. Yeah, the trial stuff. Thank you so much. Even the small time media, there's so many of them. Only one that pops in my head is Elijah Schaefer. That's the only one that pops in my head. I know there's more, but I just know Elijah. That's it, because it's been years, 3 years of the small media. Drew Hernandez.
Drew Hernandez?
Yes, Hernandez. I love him to death. He's one of my favorites. If it wasn't for the small time media people videotaping that night, there would be another outlook in life.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I want to thank all you guys for your support, your love, and everything. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't know where my family would be.
Well, we appreciate that. And that's why we did it, was just to see justice be done. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to V Radio.
All right.